And we are live. Welcome to Better UX Community. I'm your host, as usual, Varma Henry. Yeah, it looks like we are having some terrible connectivity issues today, so maybe the stream might not be as smooth. And also, we are kind of doing our load shedding vibes live stream now. If you're wondering what the hell is load shedding, I am broadcasting live from South Africa, Johannesburg, and we have basically power cuts that we have scheduled a couple of times a day, so you will hear some background noise in some of these live streaming sessions. Now my goal is to try and eliminate those as much as possible, right? But yeah, I hope that we can still have the conversation that I want to have with you guys today. So welcome to this week's first live stream on a Wednesday, and I was hoping that by now this will be our third one this week, but yeah, there just has been so many things that have been happening in my personal life, as well as a couple of holidays that we had here in South Africa. So yeah, I kind of partied a little bit over the weekend, and we had holiday over last week Friday and Monday, so I decided to take those days off and actually spend some time with my family and kind of just chill out and reboot, re-energize, so that I can come back to these live streams for you with all the energy possible. So yeah, if you're new here, I see that over the past week you've been gaining some subscribers. Please do consider subscribing if you're interested in listening into, or maybe even joining the part of the conversation, because this is a community. After all, Do Better UX is based on community first, and the content that I create on this channel, the live streaming sessions that I do, is to mainly chat around things around career design. I do portfolio reviews, I do website reviews, I do chats with other people, and hopefully in the future we can start having other people on the live stream. Now I have a little bit of a scratchy voice. Let me fetch some water and we can get on with the live stream for real. Alrighty, cool. So let's get into the discussion today. Now, as usual, I usually like to introduce you, or rather invite you over to our LinkedIn group, where we talk about a couple of things. Where we talk about a couple of things around UX design, career, opportunities and things like that. Now, I am gonna be struggling with my voice a little bit. I can feel it in this session, but yeah, please bear with me as I go through this live streaming session today. Now, like I was saying, if you're new here, we kind of like speak about UX design career topics, and that could be anything from portfolio design, getting into UX design, and I'm using UX design here as a very broad a topic and a focus, right? Because I think we talk about product design, we talk about product management, we talk about doing UX design in agile environments, etc., etc. So these are all the different things and topics that I like speaking about here on the live streaming session. Now we do have a podcast called Not a UX Designer, and you can listen to that over on Spotify, Apple Music, Google, wherever you listen to your podcast to, right? Well, you listen to your podcast on. But yeah, I'm super excited more than anything to grow this community. I think if anything, I want to look back maybe 5 years from now to this specific live streaming sessions when I am just by myself and kind of talking by myself, really, right? We building up the community slowly, gradually, but definitely surely, and I'm hoping that as we grow, we start seeing more and more engagement happening on the live streams as well as on our community page on LinkedIn. This is one thing that I've been asking over the past week, and that is, are you focused or based on LinkedIn? If you're watching this wherever you are, I'm really interested to know which is the best platform that you would like us to host this Do Better UX community on. If you would like us to do it on our own dobetterux.com website, where we currently just host kind of like our newsletter and latest posts. You can listen to our podcast there as well, and just check it out to see any new things that we're doing there, right? Yeah, I'm super interested to know which platform would you rather engage on the most. We've got Discord, we've got LinkedIn, we've got Twitter, we've got a custom built Do Better UX website. So let me know which one you would rather prefer engaging on currently. If you go in the description below, you'll be able to find our Do Better UX LinkedIn group. Join us there. Let's have an honest, genuine discussion. I'm inviting you to come and share with the community first and foremost, before you can start consuming from that community, and that way we can always build a better community that is kind of driven on giving first. And that is what I'm really trying to get this community to be, and hopefully we can get it to work that way. Now, if you've got any questions as we go through some of the topics that I have today, please do feel free to throw your questions in the comments. Now, if you're just joining us, welcome. This is Do Better UX live design streaming sessions. I've gave a little bit of an intro already, but yeah, I want to get into the topics of today right now, right? Yeah, if you can hear the background noise, we kind of like doing hashtag live design streaming sessions during load shedding, where the power is off, though, so the noise in the background is my generator. So please bear with me. I can't really do much about it, right? But yeah, today's career topics that I want to talk about, mainly based on skills of the future. Now, you will see that over the past live streams that I did over the past weeks, I had been really talking about skills of the future in UX design, in AI, and the reason is because of this whole conversation around ChatGPT, etc., etc. Now, there has been different periods and different kind of like spikes in buzzwords and kind of like technology that just come and disrupt, our design field. I think voice was one. We had blockchain, and now we've got AI. And I'm super interested to always talk about these type of things because it is important for us to be able to future proof ourselves, and this is what we talk about here on Do Better UX, right? Is that we talk about what are the skills that you need for the future, what are the things that you need to be able to adapt and kind of get ahead in your career, right? So that's why you've been kind of hearing this skills of the future topic that has been ongoing, and we've kind of been talking about this thing. So we spoke about AI. I looked at a couple of AI tools. I looked at AI in Figma, etc., and I'm hoping to keep on looking at the real world feasibility of these AI tools, especially in the design field or in project management, whatever it is that you are doing right out there, right, within this UX product design space. So I will be looking into that over probably the next couple of weeks, and then I'll move on from this, and then we can only talk about kind of like the highlights and the things that are really moving and shaking up our industry as we know it, right? So yeah, let's talk about the first topic that I want to get into today, which is the different types of trends and things that I think are super important to focus on right now. And this is absolutely just a hot take. I hope that the lights don't give you freaking what you call it, an epilepsy feet. I think I should put a disclaimer, like warning, flashing lights. That light in the corner there is basically dying. So yeah, I hope that it doesn't. I hope actually it creates a little bit more drama than it causes, like, oh, I'm kind of like flickering to death type of thing, right? So yeah, let's proceed with the conversation. So I want to talk about a couple of topics that I think you should be really focusing on now, and you might listen to me and have been watching some of the live streams or some of the podcasts that I have, and kind of hearing a broken record type of effect, right? And that's quite intentional, actually, because I really believe that looking into the future in these skills is something that will help us stand out, right? Because if you think about it, most of the mundane tasks and most of the mundane things that we do as UX designers are being replaced by automation tools like ChatGPT or whatever it is that people are building as plugins in Figma, in Jira, in all these tools that we use, right? So the only space that we really have to be able to still be able to create value and innovate is actually within these technologies themselves. So voice, artificial intelligence, right, VR and AR, and I'm gonna be talking about those type of topics for quite a long time now, and my intention is to take a really deep dive into how those works, how can we design in those different spaces, and I hope that as this community grows, I will be able to get some experts and some people that can come on this show or on the podcast, or just engage lively and honestly and genuinely in our community that can help us kind of formulate this thing together, right? There are people who know more of these topics than others, obviously, right? But my belief is, if you are a product designer, a UX designer, or whatever it is, and you kind of start adopting these things early on, right now, this is the opportunity for you to be able to stand out as a thought leader, and maybe not only as a thought leader, but also as somebody who can set a standard in that specific field, right? So whether it's AI, apps, or whatever it is, right? So that's where I'm kind of going with this. So I'm gonna start with the basic ones, which is AI. Let's talk about AI and move on from AI, because AI is the hot tech of the day, and we can kind of like breeze through it because I've covered a lot of it. If you want to hear more about what I think about AI in design and how it's going to disrupt the future of design, etc., and how we can use it to leverage it to optimize the work that we do, check out the other live streams from the previous week. Whenever you're watching this, I hope that it's not too far into the future, that you cannot figure out which one is last week. But check out the previous ones. I'll try do the pinning of the videos thing, but I don't know if it'll work. I barely edit, or that's why I do these things live, kind of like put out the knowledge out there as fast as possible, as easy as possible, press go live, and I kind of like speak my mind, right? That's the idea of these live streaming sessions. Cool. So let's start with AI. I think AI is an easy take. I think we have seen a spike of a lot of AI tools that are being built, whether this is within the realm of being plugins within other tools like Figma, right, or the project management tools, or Office and creation type of tools like your Microsoft Office, your Google Workspace, whatever it's called, right? So we're starting to see how AI can be applied in these spaces, in scenarios where it can, go read your emails and give you a summary of what you need to do that day, etc., right? Managing your calendars, it being a co-pilot. Now, we've seen a lot of people using this term co-pilot from Microsoft. I think the other one was GitHub. Right, a lot of people are speaking about this co-pilot thing as this person that helps you as personal assistant, basically, right? That can help you navigate your world, because they've got access to your data, and with that access to data you can do many things, right? Now, this is the catch, I think, when it comes to dealing with AI, right? And I think it's really a data game. Now, I think we've all heard over the past 5-6 years, data is king, etc., right? And I think being a data analyst and being able to find trends in data is a really important thing. The funny thing is that you can actually get the AI to analyze the data for you, and then you can tell it what to do with the data after it is analyzed. I know it's crazy, but bear with me here, right? Super important to realize the potential here, right? That we have, but basically everything when it comes to AI is data driven, and you really need to understand what is it that you're trying to augment, shape shift to be whatever it is that you want to help with the scenarios. So over the past week I was looking at plugins within Figma. I think that's a great space to think about it. I do a lot of work within the fintech space, and I think that's a great space where AI can be applied to come up with new products that have got a good amount of intelligence and can really help people look at the financial world better, right? There's so many scenarios where AI can be used to help navigate and solve different problems and scenarios. But what I wanted to highlight before I move on to the next topic is that I think it's really a numbers game, and that well, a data game, and that's what you really need to be able to design for. So designing for the data that you currently have, and I think it has never been such a great time for you to be able to analyze data, be able to use AI to analyze the same data that it is giving to you, right? Etc. Etc. So super super exciting time to be alive, right? It's just, when I found out about ChatGPT, etc., etc., I felt like I had so much power. Like the time that I found out about the internet and design software, things like Adobe, etc., etc., and there's just so much potential and so much different new realms of worlds of possibilities that can be achieved with the power of AI. Now, it's a data game. Look into the data, design for the data. That's all I have to say about AI today. I want to move on to the next one, which is a very interesting topic because it's a new way to interact with computers, with the internet. And a lot of people have got a misconception about it. Like you can kind of, just dump, the internet to your brain. And okay, let me go back a step. I want to talk about brain computer interfaces. And brain computer interfaces are this magical invention rather, 21st century invention, right? That allows humans to be able to interact with computer interfaces, right? With their brain, not using the typical eyes and eyeballs and fingers, right? As we do on a day-to-day basis with a normal computer, like your phone or your desktop computer or whatever it is that you use, right? And the reason why I've been talking about this topic as much as AI for such a long time, and I've been geeking about it. I've been watching every Neuralink broadcast that they put updates out there. I've been talking about this thing since inception, just like DAL-E, ChatGPT, etc., etc. These are super exciting topics for me. Blockchain was not so much as exciting for me. I didn't feel like there was so much, but voice, VR, AR, artificial intelligence, I think that is really where the future of our design careers are. And I'm talking about all of these things not necessarily in just where the world is going, but in the context of design careers and what is it that we can do, and how is it that we can grow within this space. How can we find opportunities, right, to be able to do certain things within this space right here. So that's the context of this whole discussion, right? Now I feel like I've been talking for ages. Let me pause for a bit, have a drink, and just ask you guys, if you are watching this live, if you're watching this as a replay, please comment down below what are some of the greatest examples of AI that you've seen. For me, the space that I'm really interested in is AI that can help us actually design interfaces, and kind of like do things like workflows, do things like wireframing, from description or input of kind of like a workflow or something like that. So if you could have a workflow that you can pop into Figma, and it can build kind of like wireframes for you, that would be a great thing. So let me know in the description below what you guys think are some of the best use cases, and what are some of the ideas that you would have for an AI driven product, right? Solving some of the things that you might have in your community, in the field that you work in, whether you might be in, banking, health, mining. I don't know. What fields are you actually applying? Okay, I'm just asking questions now, but yeah, let me know in the description below what you guys have out there, what you guys think about AI and how we can apply it. Now, when I do these live streaming sessions, usually when I'm sitting down, today I'm standing up. If you haven't noticed the difference, probably you haven't noticed the difference because probably this is your first live streaming session that you're watching anyway. But I'm usually checking out LinkedIn. I'm usually checking out Twitter. Those are the main platforms that I engage with the Do Better UX community on. And yeah, let me know if you would like to engage with me on other platforms, Discord, the DoBetterUX.com website itself. Just seeing where if we're getting some activity over on our community page over on LinkedIn. If you are watching this, yeah, pop in there, check out the link in the description, and join the group. Only if you're willing to contribute, share with other people about your career journey. That's the thing that I see lacking, right, in most of the communities that I get into. Most of them are based on it's mainly transactional. It's a sales thing. I see a lot of people posting the work that they're doing in hopes that they get people to hire them, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I personally think that LinkedIn is a marketplace more than a social media engagement type of website, and that's okay, right? But with the Do Better UX community, I would like to drive a different tone on how we approach this community and how we build it and the type of people that are in there. I had built a group that had almost over 100 people. And I deleted it a few months ago because I really wanted to press a reset button on what this community means and how we grow it going forth. So that's super important to me and everything that we do on the Do Better UX community. Now, let me get back to brain computer interfaces and why I think it's a super interesting space to be in. Now, this is a very early on technology, and everything that I'm talking about here is based on the fact that it's very early technology, and that way you can really establish ways on how to come up with solutions, how to define solutions, how to map up stuff in that specific world. Because what I've realized in working in different markets, whether it could be retail, right, banking, telcos, etc., is that there are, as much as we have the basic UX design approach or design thinking approach to how we solve problems and come up with products, right? I think that every market has a different way and a different set of data that they look at, a different way that they do these things, a different set of data that they look at, etc., right? And that is super important to understand for each and every market that you work in. And in the world of voice, for example, designing for voice is very different to designing for typical user interface that will be put on a display. And with things like brain computer interfaces, we need to think about different dimensions and different ways on how people interact with this. Now, I really had an awesome post that I saw on LinkedIn from a person that I connected with around brain computer interfaces, and they really get into the details on how people can interact with this one way, both ways, or just getting input, etc., right? And I'm super excited to try and get people with such expertise on the live stream or on the podcast to talk about some of these things and their thoughts and really get into the details. Now, most of the things I talk about are based on what my career is based on and what I think and perceive, but I think as we get more voices in, it'll help the conversation become much better and much richer, and really bring those voices within this community alive, because I think there are great people within this community, whether they are just starting out, they've got a wealth of knowledge from other fields that they're coming from. I've had people who are coming from being doctors. I've had people who are coming from the legal field, the accounting field, right? Who want to get into this thing, right? And yeah, building products is a super interesting thing, especially when you add the dimension of an unknown way of interacting with that specific technology, right? Like brain computer interfaces, right? So that's why I'm super excited about brain computer interfaces, is that it really adds that dimension, that unknown way, well, to most lay people anyway, right? So yeah, I want to see more brain computer interface kind of products coming out in the near future, whether it's in the medical field. I guess that's probably where we'll see it most, and research in that space. But yeah, I'm interested to know what you think a brain computer interface future looks like, right? Us interacting with computers, etc. Now, people, myself included, have went as far as thinking that in the future you can just download this information in your brain, or be able to have some capability of some sort of a Google search bar directly in your brain, right? And that's a very scary thought, but super interesting as well, because you just see the possibilities of human nature. And I think it'll get to a point where technology is really part of human evolvement. It already is, if you think about medical advances and things that we've achieved in the medical field, like kind of non-natural birth, right? I still think it is, and other things that we can do as human nature using technology that can actually attribute to what we call as evolving as a human species. Now let me move on before I get too caught up in the brain computer interface conversation. I want to talk about two more things before we close off on the on the live stream session rather. I just cut my mic there because I need to cough and clear out my throat. I'm sure you can kind of hear that it's a little bit scratchy wherever you're listening to it from. Now check out the links in the description below, and I'm inviting you to join us over on our LinkedIn community. Well, it's not a LinkedIn community, it's the Do Better UX community but we've got a LinkedIn group. Check out dobetterux.com, which is our main website. There you can get all the latest stuff. We are evolving that website. It keeps on kind of like morphing and things moving around. You will see it. Sometimes we put it down, sometimes we put it up with new updates. We're kind of trying to figure out which is the good spot that we want to get it to. All right. Um, let me get to the third topic of the day, and that is, well, I think I'm gonna batch these two together really, because they kind of like overlap each other, and you could almost do them at a flick of a switch, right? Like artificial reality and augmented reality is something that you can kind of like overlay on top of each other super quickly. Most VR glasses, which is virtual reality glasses, kind of have cameras that let you just pass through the vision, and you can just see what is happening there in the screens through the cameras, right? So it gives you the real life world for you to be able to process and see what. Cool. So the reason why I'm super excited about that, actually, I think the fourth one should be voice. So first one, AI. Second one will be brain computer interfaces. That's what I spoke about. The third one will be AR, VR, and the fourth one, I think it should be voice. Now, I spoke about voice a long time ago, but yeah, let me get to that after this topic. I think the potential within AR and VR is super massive. Now we've seen it applied in games, and to be honest, with the amount that we've had the technology in our hands, it hasn't been super impressive to see, the amount of games that have been developed for it. I think personally, I have seen some professional applications where you see people kind of using virtual reality for training scenarios and simulation. That way they can cut costs in kind of like, big simulators that people need to sit into with massive screens and things like that. And I think there's some of those applications, and you can actually see it with some of the virtual reality headsets that have been produced. They're kind of like moving away from the gaming world and getting more into this more professional space where you can use it for training and those type of simulated environments and things like that. So I'm super interested to see where that virtual reality, augmented reality kind of like technology goes into. But again, speaking to it from a UX designer perspective or a product designer perspective, I think it is a super interesting space to be able to play in, solve for, figure out what are the scenarios that you can solve for, which companies can you work with that are doing these type of things and applying the technologies. But what I'm really interested in seeing is more applications in kind of like the prosumer and consumer space, right? Now prosumers are like pro consumers, which would go for probably high-end, more better products, and would use this probably for work. I don't know, virtual meetings or something like that. But whatever it is, you might be doing maybe virtual live streamings and things like that, right? And more in kind of like the consumer space. Now, the only use case that I've really seen come to life is probably education using augmented reality. I've seen some really good apps that can teach you about the sun signs and overlay kind of like augment dinosaurs and things like that, right, on a table, on a surface for you. And I think that's all cool and all funky beans, right? But yeah, I feel like there's just so much more potential on what we can do with this technology, and I think what's really limiting it, and there's a super this is an important space for us to start looking into as product designers and UX designers, is the hardware space, right? I think most of the things that limit these technologies is mainly the hardware piece of things. Now, I know that a lot of UX designers don't think about UX design as a hardware focused discipline, but if you think about it, UX design really speaks to the user experience, whether that is using a camera, using a mouse, whatever it is, right, that you might be using. And I think that in the world that we're living in, as UX designers, we really need to start thinking about the hardware that is being used, and that you can actually maybe create, right, to solve for this specific problem, especially in the VR and AR space, right? And accompany that with software that helps the user kind of achieve their ultimate goal of whatever it is that they're trying to solve. So I think that is the thing that's lacking in the VR and AR space. It's really UX designers or product designers thinking about the software space and not solving the hardware, because if you look at any VR AR thing, it's still kind of like clunky. There's tethers, etc., etc. They haven't been able to put the processing power directly into the headsets. Actually, they have been, but the scenarios where the processing power is still outside of the headsets is still more than the other way around. So yeah, all these aspects kind of still make kind of what I think is fairly an old technology pretty basic. We've seen, if you look at the full catalog of VR headset games, right, and applications and things like that, we're not looking at in the hundreds of thousands. We're looking at in just a couple of hundred actually, right? So yeah, super interested to see more things coming out of that space, and interested to know what you guys think about some of the topics that I'm talking about today, and what you can think of or use these technologies to solve for within your space that you are in. To have this conversation with you guys, please do join our community. Check out the links in the description below. Like and subscribe to the channel so that you can get notified when we go live. The intention is to go live as regular as possible. Sometimes we miss the days in the week because there's just so much to do in the day, right? And sometimes, whether the topics are not ready or we're just preparing for much better quality content to get to you guys, right? Subscribe, you do the bell thing, and that way you get notified when I go live. Whenever I go live within the week. I hope that I can ramp up the intensity of the live streaming sessions as well as the value, and hope that this will be a place where we can chill on a weekly basis and kind of like chat through some of the things that are happening in the front of our eyes right now in the world, and how we can take the opportunity to jump on these things that are coming up and be able to actually do something out of it. Cool. So last one, I want to talk about voice. And voice is a pretty it's a pretty close one to my heart, because I think I started looking at voice interface design probably about 5-6 years ago, and I've been really interested in seeing what's coming up out of that space. And again, like in the world of VR, I think we've seen a lot of domination in, basic kind of like speaker interfaces from Google, Amazon, and the Siri that can only tell you the weather, if in the best case scenario. Right. So yeah, and I feel like there's so much more in that space that can happen, right, with incorporating AI and voice. I think that there's so much that can really come out of that space. And yeah, I think we kind of like start seeing some plugins for things like Siri that can actually, make it a little bit more intelligent using AI. And a lot of people don't venture into these different fields that I'm talking about, because I think a lot of UX design is mainly based on screen design, and we're talking about things like wireframing, etc., low fidelity prototypes, high fidelity prototypes. But I think those things really apply to all of these things that I'm talking about, right? It might not be in the basic format that we're used to, when it comes to design. But I think that interface design is really evolving as the technology around us evolves, right? We've got voice, we've got chat, we've got different ways that we can really start interacting with computers, direct brain computer interfaces and things like that, right? So I think it's important for you as a UX designer to start looking into some of these fields, figure out what are the opportunities that are that you can find in there, and apply that into the fields that you are in now. As I told you earlier on, I work quite a bit in the fintech space and in other markets as well, and my game right now is to figure out how can I use all these opportunities and all these things around me to be able to innovate and create new products and ideas based on these things that I have around me. So yeah, that's the live stream for today, and yeah, if you enjoyed this, check us out for tomorrow's live stream. We're going to get into a little bit more detail. I think we're going to do the weekly live podcast recording tomorrow. I think that will be beneficial for myself, so that I can publish that this week. Check out our newsletter on the dobetterus.com website. Sign up there, and we'll be dropping out weekly newsletters starting from this Friday. Super keen to have you in our Do Better UX community, currently based mainly on LinkedIn. Check out the descriptions in the below to all of these things that I'm talking about. Catch you in the next one.